quite a camera you've got there.
And it seems so pretty because there's a little bit of snow in the air. And we're like, how are we ever going to get the same?
And we got it.
And when we came back out 3
we
weeks
were
later.
blessed in a lot of different ways.
A lot of ways.
Yeah.
But when you come here, this is one of the original conversations we had with Shores, was, does this look like parts of Scotland?
Mm-hmm.
That was what was the key, because
we were on a FaceTime with him. I had not committed to the movie. So we got Soros on the phone, on FaceTime, and we started showing him pictures. And he said, that's Glencoe, that's this, that's that. And he said he swore that it was like the Highlands. I mean, he swore that we were showing him pictures of Scotland. Mm-hmm. So that's what we hung up, and I said, I'm in.
It's true.
And that was a defining moment, wasn't it?
Yeah, and he was on FaceTime, and he didn't know which pictures were Scotland and which pictures were Montana.
At all, yeah.
Because Cokedale Road, as you come up here, feels like you're driving through the UK. And it really, like, you could be in Scotland here, particularly 700 years ago.
Yeah.
And it was a lot easier to film here and a lot more accessible. And so to be able to film in Scotland as well, we would have loved to film in Scotland more. But to be able to film in Scotland for 3 weeks, but base the farm here, made the production doable.
Well, tell me more, because I know you were telling us a little bit earlier with the tax credits. So how did filming in Montana work with the tax credits, and especially with your feature films that you've done? How does it make it possible to double locations for like a Scotland, Ireland for Montana?
Well, we didn't have very much in the way of tax credits
Then,
for that movie.
Okay.
So after that movie, Richie and I, we lobbied with the governor and with all the representatives and state senators, and we showed them, at first they said, well, people are going to come here from Hollywood. They're going to take the money and go back to Hollywood. And we were able to say, we did a movie, Robert the Bruce, in the dead of winter when the town was in economic dire. And we were able to, they spent almost all their money here in Livingston, and we were able to get merchants to write letters and for people to call and say, we wouldn't have made it through the winter the way we did without Robert the Bruce.
we kept a hotel that was closed open, and we spent the money hiring, 75 locals that wouldn't have had work during the winter.
Oh wow! Yeah.
And so when they can see a true world example of that,
Yeah, when they saw that we created 75 jobs, that would have never happened.
and now the films that usually get filmed in Canada
Will be here.
can
Like
be
The
filmed here.
Revelant was in Canada, and it's about Montana.
Yeah.
So many
Legends of the Fall.
So yeah, Legends of the Fall. Who, by the way, the author Jim Harrison lived in Livingston, Montana.
But now we can do it. And Yellowstone coming here, it means that the films don't have to go to Canada anymore, and Montana stories can be made in Montana.
Yeah, and other kinds of films. I mean, you're talking about
Oh yeah,
all kinds of westerns from the Southwest to Ireland and Scotland to, I'm sure,
and not
parts
just
of Europe.
westerns, but anything.
Absolutely. I mean, you could double this for Germany. The
Yes,
Black
we can.
Forest.
Yeah.
Big time.
Amazing.
I mean, but the cool thing about Robert the Bruce was, now that we've been, we're working on James Douglas, and we want to film in Scotland, but it's just nice to have a base here as well.
In the U.S.
So we get both.
Yeah, we'll do both.
Yeah.
Oh,
Have you been inside? guys were so good. They saw this in the forest just here.
With the moss.
And they cut it down, they
Yeah.
preserved the moss. That's
Yeah.
real.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
It's lovely.
I love this because I've been in a lot of crofts in
I
Scotland.
bet you have. Yeah.
Old ones, and this is very.
Blacklight off.
And you know how they talk about the raining of cats and dogs?
Mhm.
It's because
Yes,
would
do
all
you know
be
why
in the
that
roof.
is?
They would all be in the roof,
And it would cave in.
and when it rained,
That's
sometimes
true.
if they got wet, they would fall down out of the
I
roof.
didn't
And that's
know
when
that.
it's raining cats
I
and
didn't know
dogs.
Yeah, it's the thing, which is why people for a long time they would have canopies over the top of their bed to keep them if they were sleeping in bed at night and there was a rainstorm. The cats and dogs and other rodents wouldn't fall into the bed with them.
That is great.
Wow.
That is so cool. And so we'd have the fire going for real,
Yeah.
and the chimney's great, but it
And
was
we
so
really-
But
it
it
was so
didn't-
smoky in here.
Yeah.
Sometimes even with the fire on, it was colder in here
Yeah.
than outside.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
But they did it. But it worked for the film because the vapor coming out of their mouths, they looked real.
And now, when you look at how small this is, to have to get the cast and the crew in here, cinematography.
5
So
actors.
we were like, everybody was just slammed in here. So.
And because it's
But it
winter,
looks so much bigger,
like the church.
like the church. Now you've got on what you showed me is a church, right? We'll go down to the church next, and you'll go, can't believe how small it is. So
How tiny it is.
yeah.
So as a director, what was it like being inside of a space this small and having to direct 5 actors of this film?
We're very lucky because the people that came on board with this film loved the story, and they were massive Robert the Bruce fans, had a background of loving Braveheart, and so it wasn't hard to convince them after Angus had spent with Eric, over a decade writing it. They were all in, which is half the battle, and so once the actors embrace the material like that, it's just like a beautiful experience because they want to be here and they want to do it, and they're in period costumes and they're freezing, but they signed on because they love the story. And it's quite rare to see a period epic that takes the point of view of the widow and orphan children, because we see the people going off to war, but we don't see what's left behind probably ever in movies. And so once they got the love of the story, and once we knew that we were telling something original, that we weren't trying to be Braveheart or Gladiator, that we had a different perspective, they were all in. And once the actors are all in, my job becomes much easier. And I would just sit back, and Anna and Talitha and Gabe and Brandon were so committed. It was beautiful to watch, like in horrible conditions.
I mean,
But it showed on the screen, which makes the movie work.
Well, and we did the interview with Brandon, and Brandon talks about that, and he talks about just bonding. And as a matter of fact, all of the actors that we were able to interview so far talked about having this amazing bonding experience.
Yeah.
Not just because of the extreme cold conditions, also because of Braveheart as well, and having a great love of that, and everyone being inspired by that.
And they would lie here, like there, to stay warm between takes. That they became brothers and sisters. And obviously Talitha and Gabe are. But Anna and Talitha and Gabe and Brandon formed this kind of family. And they would practice the accent together. And they came to work together. And it was beautiful. It was great. Like, I don't, as hard as it was, I can't remember a bad experience on set, which is probably me blacking out on things, but it's always good when you look back in a film and go, oh God, I would love to still be doing it. And so that's why we're so excited for people to see it, because we worked the hardest we've ever worked, but we're really proud of it. And so it makes it all worthwhile.
Oh, it's amazing, and I'm so glad that you've invited us here. This means such a great deal to us.
You're welcome.
And just my heritage and Kelsey's heritage and all of our friends and family back home. And this, I believe this has meant a great deal to the Scottish people, and I think it's a very relevant film at this time for many different reasons. And it's not like Braveheart in that, you don't have the big battle scenes, but I think it's very relevant. I don't know if I want to say accidentally or if I want to say because it was meant to be. But at this time, you have these themes that there's so many people going through very similar things. And so I feel like Braveheart inspired a lot of people to take away the kilts, take away, the Scottishness, just a life story of what people have to go through. And so a lot of people were able to identify with that. Women were able to identify with it being a love story, men for the battle scenes, maybe a crossover of some of that. But at the same time, here you have Robert the Bruce come in at a time where people are isolated, and here he is in a cave, and he's isolated, and he's trying to get over his wounds and be able to come out, and he has to move forward, and he has to get inspired and move forward in a way that he knows there's a future, and he's going to make it, and he becomes king. And I think that is such a great and relevant theme and story for this moment in time.
Yeah, it was against all odds. And we saw it in Glasgow, Carter. Like, the reaction we had in Glasgow was a really interesting reaction. Because we had a father and a couple of sons in front of us. The reaction in Glasgow was beautiful.
Standing ovation.
Yeah.
And I couldn't understand the people in Glasgow very well. In the rest of Scotland, I did. But their accent was very thick. But they loved us. And I had so many people in the audience come up to me and say, thank you for helping to create such an incredible movie. So we went away feeling very good.
They got it, and they saw the relevance of telling the story of the people that don't usually get their story told. And Glasgow got that the best.
Yeah, they sure did.
Yeah.
The Ouijas.
Exactly.
If you're from Glasgow, you know what a Ouija means. You're Glaswegian or you're a Ouija if you're local.
Okay.